Hello, welcome to Soulprint Intuitive Tarot. Today, this is going to be a channeled message. So what I want to talk about is, and you all know that I don't like do astrology, I barely understand it. But there's a lot of stuff going on right now. You've got eclipses going on, and they're having an impact. So part of what is being brought up, unearthed, is a great deal. There's so much under the surface, okay? And whether that is countries, whether that is politicians, whether that is, us. The period of time that we're going into is about sort of looking at the reality of situations and figuring out what is an accurate reflection, and if it's not, how we fix it. Okay, that's the period of time we're going into. Now, I know myself, I have been talking frequently about the springtime, spring of 2024. Well, April is like 6 months from now. And so the eclipses, like the seeds that get planted now, are going to grow. In 6 months, you're going to see the fruits of that. Some of what's going on, though, is really concerning. I mean, you have the whole thing going on between Hamas and Israel. Now, I have to tell you, I am not going to be doing any significant reading on that situation. It's an interesting thing. I can go into Trump's energy, sort of in and out, and it doesn't really faze me that much. I'm very well protected. I can look at the Ukraine war, and that, it's upsetting, it's disturbing, but I can handle the energy. This situation in Israel, I cannot handle that energy. And I was trying to figure out why, like if I can look at Ukraine, why can't I look at Israel? And the reason boils down to this. The Ukraine situation is, and it's bad, is about an egomaniac who's trying to get power. Okay. He is trying to do this big land grab because he fancies himself some sort of modern day czar. For him, it's about power. It's about ego. The situation with Hamas is about pure hate. And I think that that's part of the reason that I can't stay in that energy very long. So for pendulum Fridays like that, I will answer a yes, no question. But I'm not going to be your source for any sort of in-depth readings on that. But what I can say is energetically, what is going on right now, we're going to see 6 months from now. So it's really interesting if you think about, I am channeling, by the way. I know this may sound like chit chat, but I'm getting information. So think about what's going on politically. All right. Now, I'm recording this a couple of days before you're going to see this. And as of right now, for example, Steve Scalise, they're not holding that floor vote because as of right now, he doesn't have the votes. But let's just say he gets them and he becomes speaker. By March or April, he will not. He will not be. Whether he will be voted out or kicked out or ousted or whatever they do, whether his health, I understand he has blood cancer, which is, I'm thinking is leukemia, whether that takes a significant turn for the worse. But things that are started now sort of come to conclusions in the springtime. You have Trump, right? And you have everything that's going on, particularly the timing of January 6th investigation, right? There's all this sort of wrangling going on now, and there's motions back and forth and up and down. When's the trial actually supposed to start? In March, okay? So that's the kind of energy we're dealing with right now. It is about it is about it's like the energy is like forcing us to look at and evaluate and fix, bring things to the surface so that we can finally correct them. There's a lot that you're going to just see a lot of this kind of energy in the next 6 months. Honestly, you're going to see a lot of really, really bumpy energy this month. And, into the first couple of weeks of November, I'm being told, is when there's going to be some real intensity. And the more hostile it gets, the more negative it gets, the more crazy it gets. That is when it becomes so important for us to try to maintain our balance, to try to keep ourselves in that place where we are as positive as possible, where we're sending out that kind of healing energy. It is, it's interesting to me. They were just talking to me about like Ukraine. Um, and I understand that right now there are a lot of Ukrainians who are busy learning to fly specific planes that are going to be sent their way, or they'll have access to. Um, and it feels very much like that's something that you're going to see really, really picking up speed. And as it feels to me like as we move towards the springtime, that is where you're going to see um, a real sort of culmination of what's going on in Ukraine. It also feels like in some way Putin is sort of on a downhill slide, right? um his own life force, his own life energy is starting to become depleted. um does that mean he's going to be assassinated? Does that mean he is going to just get really sick and pass? I don't know. I just know that energetically, um, when I look at someone, I mean, all kinds of, readers have different sort of symbology. But when I look at somebody and they're very, very gray, that to me is like their light is dimming. And he is becoming, he's not charcoal gray by any stretch, but he is definitely not dove gray. Okay. He's like in the middle ground now. Um, the exact same thing I'm seeing with Trump. I'm starting, that gray energy around him. And, it's important to remember that as far as he goes, Trump goes, the current case with regards to his business, that in some ways is going to um, be one of the more significant blows to him, because it's all about his ego, it's all about his name, it's all about money. It feels to me like by time the January 6th case comes along in March, it's almost like that then sort of becomes like the nail in the coffin. That's kind of the energy around him, where it just is almost more than his system can bear. And that's where you're going to start seeing some really significant crumbling. It's going on now, and that he is going to continue to decline. But it feels like between now and March, April is going to be an incredibly um, stressful and difficult time. And, I've said for a while now, I don't like the energy around him. I don't like his health. It doesn't look good. That could very well be what I'm seeing, right? Is a significant decline in his health. So you can anticipate over the next 6 or so months, you can anticipate a lot of stuff being unburied, us gaining clarity about it. They're telling me don't be surprised if by March, April, there are some significant shifts within the Supreme Court. Now, perhaps um, one or two of the justices are going to leave because it's in their best interest, or they're going to be pressured, or something else is going to remove them from the bench. But again, the whole everything around, for example, Clarence Thomas and, his dealings with big money donors and all the stuff he never reported. It feels to me like that is going to continue to crescendo until by the springtime, it's almost like too much and it's like shatters. Um, so that's going to be sort of interesting to watch. But part of the reason that Spirit asked me to channel this message right now was, not to warn you that there's a lot of stuff coming, because you're aware. You can see sort of the chaos. You can see the momentum building. You can see day by day there's more and more stuff that comes out that just makes us all shake our heads. But the purpose behind the channeled message was that they want for each of us in our own way to find sort of that center within ourselves, to find that place of calmness and clarity, because everything around us is going to become more and more chaotic. And because it's going to become more and more chaotic, it then is so much more important that we sort of hold our center and we keep our vibration at the highest level that we can manage, sustain, that kind of thing. So, you know, part of what they're saying is, listen, you have to stay involved. You can't turn it off, but you also don't need to be saturated with it, with the news, with the political shenanigans, with the crises going on all over the world. Um, it is it is important to be mindful, but to not become saturated and do not become so entrenched in it that you can literally feel sort of your own vibration lowering and almost like draining. And so, what works? Well, lots of things work. You can meditate, you can, dance to music, you can watch funny movies, you can meditate, go for a walk, get together with friends, but do the things that are going to help you keep balanced and sort of centered within yourself, so that you don't feel like you're like on a teeter-totter like this, right? You want to try, I mean, it's never going to be perfectly flat. That just doesn't happen in Earth. But the if you can get your teeter totter to go from this to kind of a very slow kind of rocking back and forth, you're going to be so much, it's going to be so much better for you, and you're going to be able to continue to do the light work that you all want to do, and many of you are here to do. So I'm just going to ask them if they can kind of give me some snapshots of maybe where certain things are going to be in the spring. And, again, caveat, we all have free will. Things can change, things can shift. But based on the energy right now, what are we looking at? All right, so they're starting off with Trump, and what they're saying is by that March, April period of time, um, he is going to be really diminished. And it's very possible by that time that aside from the hardcore MAGAs, a lot of his support is going to continue to dwindle because that's what's going on right now. It is slowly but surely dissipating by more, I don't even know what to call them, mainstream Republicans, okay? Um, I have been trying to sort of get Trump to the election, and I can't do it. I don't see him there. So I don't know what kind of upheavals may or may happen around March, April, but it definitely feels like it's going to be the culmination of stuff that's going on now, plus um, the stressors of what's going to be happening with that J6 court case. Okay, Biden. Biden has an incredible amount of protection around him, and he is going to be sustained energetically. Um, he is going to, you're going to see some real shifts in the way facts about him and the way the Democrats are sort of marketing, advertising, the messaging that they're getting out. You're going to see it's going to become more aggressive, but not in like a really Republican way aggressive, but it's also going to become very, very fact based, right? So it's going to be, this is what he has done for the economy. These are the numbers. This is what he has done for, employment. These are the numbers. And you're going to see that in like short, 30-second advertising, that kind of thing, where it's going to become more informative. It's not going to be about, better angels, although those are really important, but it's going to be about, we want you to have the facts, right? And there is so much miscommunication and misdirection going on with the Republicans, and that appears as if it is going to continue. They're showing me Mitch McConnell, and again, he is looking like weakened. Um, I don't have great clarity on what happens as a result of that, but there's definitely again sort of a minimizing or slowing down of the life force energy. In some ways, it's almost like he just doesn't have the fight to keep on fighting. The GOP is, like I said earlier, it feels like whatever they do right now is going to come apart by the springtime. Canadian politics, it looks like the next 6 months are going to be a little bit rocky, but it doesn't actually feel like it's rocky with the politics or that kind of thing. It feels as if the leaders of the parties, so the leader of the Liberals, the leader of the Conservatives, the leader of the NDP, are really going to be jockeying for position and prominence. So it feels like it's not going to sort of be until the springtime, almost where you can get some clarity on where people stand and where they don't stand. there's going to be a backlash sort of around the world with regards to, because you're going to experience some price increases, right? I mean, gas is going to cost more. And you know what? It would be really nice if people just stop blaming their country leaders and put the blame exactly where it belongs, which is in Saudi Arabia. They control the release of the oil, and that impacts the quantities of it globally. And that, of course, increases the price, because if you lower production or you lower availability, what happens is the price goes up. And so that's going to be a little bit of an issue. Okay, now I do not do stock market stuff, but they are showing me some volatility. Um, and there's sort of I want to see kind of over the winter months, and then it feels like in the springtime, um, there's going to be some shift and changes. It feels like with a couple of really big corporations. I don't see them failing, but I definitely see sort of a downward trend for some of them. And it sort of feels like kind of, I want to almost say like summer. It'll start to level out. Um, mm, there's going to be more information that comes out about um, national secrets that were passed along to people that they should not have been. But it's not so much that it's going to be, 5 new people that we didn't know about that he was like spilling his guts to, as much as there's going to be more clarity about exactly what that caused, like what the consequences of that were. So we're not going to know all of it, because a lot of this, rightly so, is sort of top secret. But there is going to be more coming out on that, where you're almost going to be able to like connect the dots. And be mindful that we don't fall into sort of a conspiracy trap. But it feels like there's going to be more information coming out on that. So I have to say, as Zelensky looks good. He is another one like Biden who is really, really protected. Energetically, he is surrounded. The other thing to be mindful of, excuse me, it's that time of year out here, right? It's fall, and my voice starts going a little wonky. Um, there are going to be a lot of people who are going to be leaving the planet. Um, whether that, and like I think on a global or a national stage, but also I think within our own personal lives. People are going to start returning home, right? They're just not going to stay on the earth. It's sort of like their work has been done, and they're moving on. For some people, they're moving on simply because their lower vibration is no longer compatible with the higher vibration. And so, they are sort of energetically, they really are not going to have a solid place. Now, that doesn't mean everybody's going to magically shift in the fourth dimension. That's not going to happen. We've talked about this before, but you can definitely anticipate an increase in the amount of souls that are passing. Now, certainly, it does not help that you have, a war going on in Ukraine. You've got this situation, which is a bloody war going on in Israel. You have increased natural earth events, whether it's forest fires or flooding or, I don't know, tornadoes, typhoons, earthquakes. But it's just going to feel like there's more awareness of the fact that people really are leaving here and going home. So that's sort of everything they're giving me right now. They are reminding all of us that the reason for this channeled message was less about predicting, and it was more about ensuring that there is an awareness that things are going to get bumpy. Some of it's, frankly, if we're not kind of directly involved, some of it's going to be really interesting to watch, hence the popcorn. But it's also going to get bumpy, hence the buckle up. And so throughout that process, it's really, really important that we do what we need to do for ourselves to keep our energy vibration as high and as stable as we can. Okay, thank you. Alrighty, so that's what I know right now. I hope you have found that helpful. I hope it's been informative. Mostly, I hope it is reassuring and it gives you just some ideas about what you can do in your own life to kind of maintain that sense of stability that we're all going to need as we go forward. Thank you ever so much for being here. Please don't forget to post your pendulum questions here at this video, and of course the one on Wednesday and Thursday, so we can do another pendulum Friday. Thank you. Just thank you for your support. Thank you for being here. Thank you for the likes, the comments, all of it. I'm so grateful for it. Until next time, take care and be well. Bye-bye.